You've probably all seen this poster multiple times. This is this year's Bhadra Purnima poster, compliments of Vaisheshika Prabhu and his art team over there in California. We're not there yet. It's not September 29th, but we're getting there. This week, the end of this week, is the Purnima for the next calendar month. It's still Sharat Purnima, or Sharat month, for the month when Balaram has appeared, and Krishna appeared, and Radharani appeared during this month. And now, as we spoke yesterday evening, this anticipation of this important verse from Canto 12, Chapter 12, verse 13, where it's being said, Shukadeva Goswami is the final chapter, and the spotlight is on the Bhagavatam itself, and there's a benediction that's been given by Shukadeva Goswami. And you know what happens when a Brahmana like Shukadeva Goswami gives a benediction? Krishna upholds it. Correct? When a Brahmana of certain caliber like Shukadeva Goswami says something, Krishna upholds it. So the benediction that he gives is, buy Srimad Bhagavatam set and give it to somebody. On Bhadra Purnima, small caveat, on a golden throne, in case you don't have one, your mind can be the golden throne. You give the Srimad Bhagavatam as a gift, and the benediction is that one will attain the highest abode, the highest destination. And so we heard yesterday some of the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam and the benefits of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, especially if it's heard like those residents along the bank of the Tungabhadra river heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Gokarna. We heard that description from Bhadra Purnima yesterday, and we're going to hear the beginning part this evening. In that same chapter of the Canto 12, Chapter 12, this phrase is there, Srimad Bhagavatam Paranam Amalam. What does that mean? We know what Srimad Bhagavatam means, and Purana means a certain category of Vedic literature that's in the category of history. The Itihasas and the Puranas are both histories. And this Srimad Bhagavatam is exalted. We're going to hear how exalted it is from many sources. And it's Amala, that is untinged with any mala, any tinge of the modes of nature. So there's 18 principal Puranas, and then there's Upa Puranas. But the 18 principal Puranas are divided into 6, 6, and 6, according to the modes of nature. Goodness, passion, ignorance. And even those in the mode of goodness, the Puranas in the mode of goodness, there's some tinge, just like the modes of nature, some tinge of, as it's described in Bhagavad Gita, but some tinge of the other modes. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's no tinge, so therefore it's the Amala Purana. And this very same understanding that's described in 12th Canto Bhagavatam, we heard it Friday. Remember this verse? Ramya Kachit upasana brajavadhu vargena va kalpita. According to this is a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam by a disciple in the disciplic line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the introduction section of that commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, this celebrated verse appears. That is, the ways of worship of the son of the king of Vraja, Nanda Maharaj, may be various. Ways of worship of Krishna are various, but the one which was conceived by the circle of the damsels, Vrajavadhu, Vargena, is unsurpassable by any other devotee. Now, in this commentary it says, these are the opinions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But the opinion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu means it's a fact. It's not take it or leave it opinion. It's a fact. And Srimad Bhagavatam Amala Purana, same. In this commentary, he writes the same phrase that's found in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's the reference. It's Chaitanya Mata Manjusha, Srila Chakravarti Thakur. That Srimad Bhagavatam is very important. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time on its importance. Here's what some other scriptures say about the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's a reference from Bhadra Purnima that almost identical verse is found in same 12th canto, chapter 13 of the Bhagavatam. Rajante tavad anyani puranani satam gane yavad bhagavatam naiva shruyate amrita sagaram. All other religious scriptures remain respected in an assembly of learned people as long as Srimad Bhagavatam, which is filled with nectar, does not enter their assembly. As soon as Srimad Bhagavatam comes to their hands, other spiritual scriptures become faded. Now, Bhadra Purnima is one of those other scriptures. But there's no enmity or enviousness towards the monarch. He's from a good subject. And Bhadra Purnima is such a Purana. It's unlimitedly respectful to Srimad Bhagavatam. So other scriptures are to be also honored. But when Srimad Bhagavatam comes in the presence of such learned persons, everyone turns their attention to Srimad Bhagavatam with all respect. And from Garuda Purana, we heard this yesterday evening. Here's the full Sanskrit. It has a lot. The meaning of Vedanta Sutra is present in Srimad Bhagavatam. How do we know that? Well, besides it's stated in Garuda Purana, it's stated right in the Bhagavatam, that when Vyasadeva, having compiled everything, all the Vedas and Vedanta Sutra, and he was still feeling not fully satisfied, he was pondering, why am I feeling this? And right on cue, Narada Muni arrived and said, Vyas, what's wrong? You don't look so good. What happened? I don't know why I'm feeling this feeling. Can you tell me? You're like the super soul, you must know. You haven't sufficiently glorified the personality of Godhead. Yes, it's there, but not sufficiently. So write one literature that's just glorifying Krishna, and let it be a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. And so the cue that is the commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam is the first line of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Janmadyasya yataha. first sutra, Vedanta Sutra. The full purport of Mahabharata is also there. The commentary of the Brahma Gayatri is also there. And there's acharyas that comment like this. Because of time limitations, I'm not going to go into all of what the commentators say. But it's a commentary on Brahma Gayatri. And it's fully expanded, it has fully expanded with all Vedic knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his incarnation as Vyas. There are 12 cantos, 335 chapters, 18,000 verses. Just in case you weren't sure which one it is. That one. Bhadra Purnima. Matsya Purana. We saw this also. Here's the Sanskrit. And wherein the supreme Dharma, Paradharma, is elaborated upon on the foundation of Gayatri, and where the killing of Vritrasura demon is mentioned, because that is to say, the other 17 Puranas don't mention the narration of the Vritrasura story. Only one. So that one, Bhagavad Purana, is known by the name Srimad Bhagavatam. One who, same benediction, on the full moon day, now this doesn't say which month, but it says on the full moon day, gives away in charity Srimad Bhagavatam, establishing it on a golden throne, will attain the highest destination. Same benediction as in the 12th canto Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of 18,000 verses. And there's many other references we discussed. Some of them, here's some words from our acharyas, starting with our founder acharya. This is written in his purport of Canto 2, Chapter 8. Srimad Bhagavatam is certainly a very dear scripture for all the devotees of the Lord. But it is auspicious even for the non-devotees also, because it explains that even the non-devotees, hearing under the spell of material energy, can be delivered from such clutches if they hear the narration of Srimad Bhagavatam with devotion, similar as what we heard yesterday evening, and attention from the right source, representing the Lord by disciplic succession. Now, that's Srila Prabhupada, so many words, but there's some words by Srila Prabhupada, and here's some words by Bhaktisiddhanta, his spiritual master. This is compiled in a book called No Other Book Like the Bhagavat. And here's what he writes in that book. Even if all the books of the world were to be burned, there would be no harm, provided one treatise was left, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even if thousands of learning centers, universities and schools and places like that, were to be abolished, there would be no feeling of inconvenience, provided the reading and teaching of the Srimad Bhagavatam continued. Pretty strong. And another reference is Sri Chaitanya's teachings. There are no other books in the world like Srimad Bhagavatam. This is not mere tittle-tattle or an exaggerated homage. We're going to touch on the exaggerated homage topic at the very end. There's a nice Sanskrit term for exaggeration. Some eulogy that's to get people to get encouraged to take a look at Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not an exaggerated homage. Arthavat, it's called. If one reflects on it as a truly impartial judge, one will realize that there has not been, nor will there ever be, a book like the Bhagavatam. And then his father and the preceptor in our disciplic line, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and his book is, says on the side, Bhagavatam and Bhaktivinoda. This photograph is a photograph from Bhaktivinoda Thakur during a stage of his life where he not only left the Grahastha ashram and took to renounce life, but he specifically accepted the order of Babaji, and he sat in Puri and absorbed himself in chanting, but he also did some writing. From the pranava, or Om, came Gayatri. From Gayatri came the Vedas. From the Vedas came the Brahma Sutra. And from the Brahma Sutra came the Srimad Bhagavatam, which has brightly risen like a Satchit Ananda sun. Those who have eyes should see, those who have ears should hear, and those who have minds should meditate on the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is from his introduction to one of his 100 books called Krishna Samhita. Here's something very interesting about Sanatana Goswami. Mentioned this yesterday, but no problem hearing it again. When Sanatana Goswami was young, a Brahmin appeared to him in a dream and blissfully gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. When he woke up, he was perturbed. Later that morning, the same Brahmana came. The one was in his dream. And guess what? He gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. Now without the Bhaktivedanta purports, but he gave him the Srimad Bhagavatam. When he obtained the Bhagavatam, Sanatana became ecstatic and merged into the ocean of prema. After this incident took place, Sanatana began reading Srimad Bhagavatam daily. So from the time that he was young and then throughout his life, he was engaged in this way. Reading, hearing, praying, immersing himself in the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Later, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave personal instructions to Sanatana Goswami about the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. Based on those instructions, Sanatana Goswami compiled Digdarshini Tika, a commentary on these three books, Hari Bhakti Vilas, Vaishnava Toshini, and Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Vaishnava Toshini is a commentary on the 10th canto. Bhakti Vilas, it's a book actually put together by Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and then he handed it over to Sanatana Goswami, asked him to organize it and see that it was presented in a publishable form, so you could say, some say co-authored. And then the commentary on all the verses of Hari Bhakti Vilas. And Brihat Bhagavatamrita, we discussed it yesterday. It's another commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, he loved Srimad Bhagavatam. He loved it. He loved Bhagavatam very much. Yesterday evening we heard the story of Gokarna narrating Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of you were not with us. Anybody here that doesn't know the Gokarna story and I should say something about it? Okay. One brave soul raised her hand. Okay. Here's the background. Are you familiar a little bit with Srimad Bhagavatam first canto? Little bit, first canto Bhagavatam? No. You have the book. Well, there's a chapter in the first canto Bhagavatam where Arjuna has come from Dwarka. He was sent from Hastinapur to Dwarka because Yudhishthira had some sense Krishna is going to depart. So he sent Arjuna, go check it out, bring back a message. Arjuna was really late because Krishna left, and Arjuna was smashed. But there was a service given to him to He sustained his life because that's life of a Vaishnava. And the service was to escort all the queens of Krishna, because Krishna said the story of Krishna's departure was he informed his chariot driver, Daruka, Krishna's chariot driver, Daruka, I'm going to leave this world. My pastimes are over. Please, quickly, hasten, go back to Dwarka, because this was at a different location. Go quickly back to Dwarka, because Dwarka is going to disappear in the ocean in a few days. And everybody is going to lose their homes and everything. So please make sure they all vacate Dwarka, because it's going to be gone, and see that the queens are left in charge of my grandson. Vajranab was his grandson. Vajranab. So when Arjuna got there, Krishna had gone. It was gone. But he had this service, take care of the queens and escort them back to Hastinapur. So it's a long journey from Dwarka back to Hastinapur. What happened, he narrates to Yudhishthira when he gets to Hastinapur, all the power that I had, such a hero on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, I was checked by some cowherdsmen who were harassing the queens, and I couldn't stop them. That's because the power that I had on the battlefield was from Krishna, and that same power was no longer with me because Krishna didn't give me the power to do that. So some cowherdmen overwhelmed me. So then the queens, that's some background from the first canto. What's not said in the first canto is described here in the Bhagat Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. What happened was the queens were put in charge of Vajranabha. And Vajranabha had jurisdiction in Mathura and Vrindavan. Mathura and Vrindavan, because the next king was Maharaj Parikshit. Yes? The next king was Maharaj Parikshit. And Maharaj Parikshit installed Vajranabha as the king under him of Mathura and Braja. So the queens were in Mathura being looked after by Krishna's grandson, Vajranabha. And Vajranabha did many things. Included in those many things is Vajranabha established deities of Krishna in Vrindavan. Some important deities, they're well known. And something else that Vajranabha did was the queens who were under his care in Mathura, they were feeling great sorrow, great separation from their beloved, Krishna, and he's gone. He's gone, and he's gone. And they noticed that amongst them there was one queen that wasn't disturbed. She was quite content. Kalindi was that queen. So they asked Kalindi, what's the reason? How come you're not like us? And Kalindi then started giving the following answer. There's a remedy that Uddhava knows. And how does she know that Uddhava knows? Because Uddhava was sent by Krishna to the residents of Vrindavan carrying a message, especially for Radharani, but especially the gopis as well. So that means Uddhava knew in detail the intensity and flavor of the love of the gopis for Krishna. And he was so moved by the strength of their love for Krishna that he wanted to take dust from their feet. But he knew that they would be too shy if he asked them for dust from their feet. So then he prayed, and his prayer was granted. Please let me become a blade of grass in Vrindavan, so that the gopis that move about here and there in Vrindavan, they may trample my grass head, and I'll get the dust of the feet of the gopis in that way. So his prayer was granted. Some of you have visited Vrindavan, and if you haven't visited Vrindavan, for sure one day you will. And when you go to Vrindavan, for sure, one of the places that you'll go is Govardhan Hill. And if you circumambulate around Govardhan Hill, towards the north part of Govardhan Hill on the west side, there's a kund called Uddhava Kund. And Uddhava Kund, on the other side of Govardhan Hill, there's a little Uddhava temple, and there's Kusum Sarovar. You know what Kusum Sarovar is? Kusum Sarovar is one of the most fantastic photogenic places in all of Govardhan, in all of Vrindavan. Just this majestic place. And over, as you're looking at from the roadside, over to the left is the little Uddhava temple, where Uddhava was undergoing austerities to become a blade of grass. And on the other side, now back on the other side, on the west side, is Uddhava Kund. So they heard from Kalindi that Uddhava has an idea of how to manifest Krishna. So they decided they would go have a big kirtan. Sometimes they would have a big kirtan. We often have a big kirtan. But they had a big kirtan. And they went with Maharaj Parikshit and Vajranab and a big kirtan. And because of the big festival of kirtan, Uddhava, who was a blade of grass on the backside of Uddhava Kund, he manifested his form. He wanted to join the kirtan. And as he came out of a grove of bushes and creepers, he saw this wonderful kirtan, and Uddhava wanted to offer his respects to all of them. Now, Uddhava is part of the royal family, or had been part of he's Krishna's cousin. And Maharaj Parikshit is in the royal family also. He's the grandson of Arjuna in the Pandava line. So he offered his respects and embraced. Now he's elder, Uddhava is elder, and he embraced Maharaj Parikshit. This is found both in Skanda Purana, what I just narrated, and the Bhagavat Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. Two places. Now what we heard yesterday, for those of you that weren't with us yesterday, is Uddhava said, yes, Krishna's pastimes in this world are now complete. He's departed this world. However, one can be in his presence, experiential. One can experience his presence and see him by hearing and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. And to persuade them or to explain to them how it is true, he told the story. You know, it's a story within a story within a story. That's how the Puranas go. And the story was the story of a Brahmana named Gokarna, who was named after the city in which he was born, which was Gokarna. The city, today is a city along the Tungabhadra River. And so what we heard yesterday was long narration, but at the end of that narration was, by his unique quality of having heard Srimad Bhagavatam from a qualified source, and for the benefit of his stepbrother, who died and became a ghost because he was a bad fellow, he freed him from his material condition just by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. And at the end of the Bhagavatam recitation, his ghost stepbrother manifested a celestial form and was paying obeisances again and again to his stepbrother for liberating him from this ghost condition. And from the sky they saw a Vaikuntha Vimana descending, and they invited him, extended their hands, and he got on the Vimana and off he went to the spiritual world. From a ghost to the spiritual world. And Gokarna said, wait, I have one question before you leave. To the Vaikuntha residents, how come all the other people who were attending this Bhagavatam recitation didn't return? They didn't get the same benefit that this stepbrother of mine did. And the Vaikuntha residents said, yes, they heard. However, two things. They didn't hear with the same intensity of attention, seriously contemplating what they had heard at the end of the day, and their worship of the Supreme Lord was not the same as Dundakari's meditation and worship. So there's a qualitative requirement, that's what we heard yesterday, to get the full benefits. Yes, they got benefit, but not the full benefit. And so off they went. So the persons that attended the Bhagavat recitation said, can you do it again? We'll pay more attention this time. So he did it again. And they all went to the spiritual world by these two conditions: worship of the Supreme Lord done properly, and hearing with great attention. Specifically, the verse in Bhadra Purnima says, seriously contemplating the subjects that they heard. Krishna will manifest by that kind of recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's what Uddhava says to Maharaj Parikshit: O king, you are most fortunate. You are always in exclusive devotion to Krishna. Among all the inhabitants of Dwarka, these queens are without a doubt most fortunate. Under the influence of Yogamaya, they have forgotten themselves and are suffering from anxiety caused by separation from Krishna, not a material anxiety. Unless Krishna becomes visible to them, none of them will regain their proper consciousness. But Krishna has wound up his pastimes. That time has finished, and now we have entered a different age. However, listen, and I will tell you another way. And he narrated this nice story, the Gokarna story. He can be visible through the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's a Padma Purana glorification of the merit, the value, the benefit that can be derived from hearing Srimad Bhagavatam properly. Now here comes a little extensive list. Most of us are accustomed to hearing that Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled by Vyasa under the order of Narada, and then Vyasa instructed Shukadev, and then Shukadev spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. In the audience, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami was Sutta, and then Sutta narrated it to the sages of Naimisharanya, where most of us are accustomed to hearing that. But don't be surprised, because Srimad Bhagavatam is eternal. It wasn't just a one-time nice composition. The words may have been different, but the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam was narrated multiple times. Here's some of the references. Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavatam to Lord Vishnu. Really? That's mentioned in Skanda Purana. Then Lord Vishnu spoke it to the goddess Lakshmi in Skanda Purana. And Lord Narayana spoke it to Lord Shiva. Nice painting. He's speaking Bhagavatam to Lord Shiva. And then Lord Narayana according to verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. You'll see the verses in a moment. Narayana spoke to Lord Brahma. Same Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe not exactly the same slokas, but the same Bhagavatam. Here's the two scriptural references, Canto 3 and Canto 12. And then again in Canto 2, Lord Narayana spoke the Bhagavatam in 4 verses, the Chaturshloki verses, celebrated verses, essential nutshell verses of the whole Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9. You may want to note them down. They're nice verses to learn. So here's the reference from Canto 3. O Uddhava, so Canto 3, Chapter 4. This is Maitreya speaking to Uddhava. Maitreya speaking to Uddhava. O Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the great sages describe as Srimad Bhagavatam. Interesting. 12th Canto. It was to Lord Brahma that the Supreme Personality of Godhead first revealed the Srimad Bhagavatam in full. At that time, Brahma, frightened by material existence, was sitting on the lotus flower that had grown from the Lord's navel. So Lord Narayana, or Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Then Brahma instructed Narada, Srimad Bhagavatam, what he learned from the Personality of Godhead, Canto 2, Chapter 7. O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of his diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Then Narada, in turn, instructed Vyasa. Canto 2, Chapter 9. This is from that same Chaturshloki verse section. In succession, O king, the great sage Narada instructed Srimad Bhagavatam unto the unlimitedly powerful Vyasadeva, who meditated in devotional service upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, on the bank of the river Saraswati. Then, of course, Vyasa compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. We all know the verse. Many of us know the verse. Canto 1, Chapter 3. He compiled what he heard, and he was instructed by Narada. And then what we do know is here's Vyasadeva instructing Shukadeva. Shukadeva is in the front, in the bluish form. Shukadeva Goswami came back to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, and he heard the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's 2 verses, one from Canto 1. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Shukadeva, who was already engaged in self-realization. And again in Canto 2. At the end of Dwapara Yuga, this is the speaker of Shukadeva, studied this great supplement of Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to the Vedas, from my father, Srila Dvaipayana Vyasa. And then we know Maharaj Parikshit heard it from Shukadeva. Here's the verse. So you get the idea. Spoken many, many times. Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasa, in his turn, delivered the Bhagavatam to the great Emperor Parikshit, who sat surrounded by sages on the bank of the Ganges, awaiting death without taking food or drink. Then, very interesting, we mentioned this yesterday, but here's the actual verse. Maharaj Parikshit, after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, the snake bird hadn't come yet. right? He was going to be bitten by a snake bird, cursed by a Brahmin boy. The narration was complete. And his mother was nearby, Uttara was nearby, and according to the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, she approached her son and said, I couldn't understand everything. Could you tell me in a summary way what he said? What was Shukadeva Goswami's message? And the reply from Maharaj Pariksit was, my dear mother, normally in circumstances like this, you don't ask such a question. But because you're my mother, I'll give you a synopsis. And the synopsis is like that thick with commentary. Blessed Uttara said, my dear son, please extract the essence of what Shukadeva has taught you and quickly reveal it to me as if churning the nectar of immortality from the ocean of milk. That's another retelling of the Bhagavatam in a synopsis form. Then there's Sutta, speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya. You get the picture. It's not a one-time or two-time. It's again and again and again. It's such an important literature. Here's the verses. O Sutta Goswami, spoken to by the sages, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord because the personality guided is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord which are above all material conception, for we are all anxious to receive such messages. I'm not going to read the next one. The next one is also from this 12th canto. Here's what we see at the bottom, according to Skanda Purana. There's Uddhava speaking to the queens of Dwarka. He just narrated that. It's in Bhadra Purnima, the Bhagavad Mahatmya section. It's in Skanda Purana, same thing. There's another reference. Lord Shiva speaks it to Parvati and Shukadeva Goswami. Interesting. Now, this one I know from, Krishna. The devotee that writes the Bindu magazine, Madhavananda, thank you. So Madhavananda, for some time, he lives in Puri, but before he lived in Bhubaneswar. And there's a legend, one could say, that in Bhubaneswar, Lord Shiva instructed Parvati and Shukadeva Goswami, Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 3rd canto Bhagavatam, Sankarshan speaks the Srimad Bhagavatam to the 4 Kumaras. Here's the verse. Lord Sankarshan thus spoke the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam to the great sage, Sanat Kumar, of course that means the other 3 are there, who had already taken the vow of renunciation. Sanat Kumar also in his turn, when inquired of by Sankyayana Muni, explained Srimad Bhagavatam as he heard it from Sankarshan. There's another recitation. That's the 4 Kumaras speaking to Sankyayana Muni. Same scriptural reference. Sankyayana Muni narrated it to Parashara Muni and Brihaspati. You get the idea. I'm going to skip the references. The verses are here. It's Srimad Bhagavatam 388, and it's also in another reference. And then Brihaspati, having heard it, he spoke to Uddhava, Bhagavatam, Skanda Purana. Parashara Muni, who heard it, spoke it to Maitreya. There's the reference from the Bhagavatam. Maitreya spoke it to Vidura. It's very important literature. Now, mostly today, we don't have the opportunity to sit at the lotus feet of Maitreya or Shukadeva Goswami or Narada Muni or Lord Vishnu or Lord Sankarshan. We don't have those opportunities. But we have Srimad Bhagavatam. You notice a few sets of Srimad Bhagavatam over here. And what a gift to the world. It's the Srimad Bhagavatam, as we heard already, it's Krishna himself. Now, last but not least, is this idea that if you make a gift, it's in two of the Puranas, if you make a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to someone on Bhadra Purnima coming up in a few days, there's this benediction that you will attain the highest destination. And we know what the highest destination is. According to the Bhagavatam and according to the followers of Lord Chaitanya, it means Goloka Vrindavan. That's too easy. Just write a check, get a set of Srimad Bhagavatams, go find somebody, and Hari Bol Prabhu, here's a set of Srimad Bhagavatams. See you later, I'm going back to Godhead. Is that just an exaggerated glorification? There are such things in the Vedas. Largely, such things are found in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. So here's the recommendation. If, on a full moon day in the month of Bhadra, that's the 29th of this month, one places Srimad Bhagavatam on a golden throne and gives it as a gift, he will attain the supreme transcendental destination. This boy isn't going to reach the supreme destination. He's going to be. Can you show the boy the door? There's the door. Thank you very much. Poor fellow. So, is this an exaggeration? It's called Artavad. Some of you know there's 10 offenses against the holy name. Some of you know there's 10 offenses against chanting the holy name, and one of them is to consider the glories of the holy name as Artavad. It's just an exaggeration to get people to say the holy name. It doesn't really do all those things. It's just a nice thing, get people pumped up, and they can chant the holy name. So what Prabhupada writes in Nectar Devotion, that's not true. In these statements about devotional service, sometimes it may appear that the results have been overestimated, but actually there's no overestimation. And right in the Bhagavatam, right in Nectar Devotion, he gives two examples. One example, the 4 Kumaras, that is simply smelling the incense on the other side of the gates of Vaikuntha because they were checked by Jai and Vijay. They achieved spiritual perfection, just smelling incense. But they achieved spiritual perfection. It's not an exaggeration. Or Bilvamangala Thakur, this is Prabhupada at Nectar Devotion. Just by hearing about Krishna, and who did he hear from? Chintamani, a prostitute. Just by hearing about Krishna from Chintamani, he left everything, including the prostitute, and went straight to Vrindavan and had direct experience of Krishna in Vrindavan. So it's not an exaggeration. Now, according to Sanatana Goswami, whose picture is on the left, who's the author and the commentator of Brihat Bhagavatamrita, he makes an explicit statement. There's no artavad in bhakti-related literature. Here's the verse. To presume, therefore, that these words of Bhakti Shastra are merely overstated praise, that's artavad, is certainly unreasonable. That devotional service, that's the verse, here's his commentary. That devotional service is vastly superior to mere liberation, as not an idea one should dismiss as artavad or exaggerated praise. So here's Vaisheshika Prabhu on Bhadra Purnima last year, making a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to some member, and they're posing nicely for the photograph. That Srimad Bhagavatam verse is proposing that you will attain the supreme destination is not an exaggeration. So if it's not an exaggeration, supposing you make a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam and you don't feel like you're going back to Godhead. And the answer is, you're on the path. You follow? Here's a nice description. The speed at which spiritual results come from spiritual activities is dependent upon the nature and intensity of the faith of the practitioner. Here's a verse. It's not from the Bhagavatam. It's a different scriptural source. There's two. In the following 6 entities, one gets reciprocation according to the degree and variety of one's faith. In a deity, in a holy place, in a mantra, in an astrologer, in a doctor, in one's guru. So according to the degree and the variety of one's faith. Here's a verse from Brahma Samhita. Some of you heard me quote this often. Yadrashi yadrashi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrashi. Bhakti Siddhanta's translation is, one's realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. Same as what we heard yesterday with the nice story of Gokarna narrating the Bhagavatam. And one achieved perfection and the rest didn't, because it has something to do with one's faith and degree of absorption. In Hari Bhakti Vilas, there's a verse quoted from Padma Purana, which indicates a person who has once uttered the 2 syllables Hari. Now you've heard, you uttered the 2 syllables Hari. Go ahead. Hari. One more time. Hari. It says that you have achieved liberation. You feel liberated? The explanation from Hari Bhakti Vilas is you're on the path of liberation. Just by Hari, the 2 syllables. Supposing it's time to, that sometime we're going to leave and go to our cars to go to where we came from. So someone is looking for one of you. They said, they went to their car. But you're not at the car yet. You're still going down the stairs or walking through the parking lot. You're not at your car yet. Or they went back to their home. They're not at their home yet, but they started their journey. That's the idea. To understand what is being spoken of about making the gift of Srimad Bhagavatam to someone means your journey has begun. The path of bhakti has begun in a very significant way. And so it's we're done, final slides. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Grantharaj, the Grantha means the scripture, and the king of all scriptures is Grantharaj. That's Srimad Bhagavatam. If you don't have a set of Srimad Bhagavatam in your home, invite Krishna into your home in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. If you have, inspire those that you come across. You have a circle of friends. We all have circles of friends. Inspire someone. There's some days remaining between now and Bhadra Purnima, and have them take a set of Srimad Bhagavatam and put it in their home. Or somebody you don't even know, just make a gift of Srimad Bhagavatam. Invite others. Then this is the mood of our founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada came to America with 40 rupees. What's 40 rupees worth? And you can't even exchange 40 rupees in America anyways. It's like nothing. He came with nothing. And as he came, here's his possessions. He had an umbrella and a little briefcase. In his briefcase, he had an extra dhoti. But in the cargo ship, there were Bhagavatams. And he came to bring that gift to anybody, everybody. He knew that people would not easily understand it. It was like a new topic, completely new topic. But he had full faith in the holy name, full faith in the Bhagavatam. Here's a night, that's going to go back. That's the Chatra Shloki verses. So, this coming week is Bhadra Purnima. Please consider, someone else is going to take the microphone.